How's it going? Hinder here. If you are watching this video, that means you would like to know how long it took me to make almost $1,800 using Anchor for my podcast. Well, thank you for joining me. If you're new to this channel, this is actually a personal training channel. So it's normally dedicated to, helping personal trainers sell personal training, build their clientele, sell gym memberships, all that stuff. And it's something that I've done a long time in the past, but something I have recently been working on. So if you follow along, you saw in the last video where I was doing some consulting in partnership with Jim, but it's getting into the online space. And one of the ways I did that is through podcasting. So whether you're interested in personal training or building your personal training business, or you want to build a podcast, this is going to be beneficial for you. So you can actually see my screen now. So I'm actually logged into Anchor, and I'm going to refresh the screen just so you can see it. So that's, it's a normal screen here. So this is your wallet. If you're new to Anchor, then this may be familiar. It may not be if you've never used Anchor before. It's basically a podcasting app. And if you enjoy this video and want to know more about it, I can actually go in a lot more detail on like where I come up with content, more specifically how I build my audience and all that stuff. We're gonna have to get some likes. So if this video gets over 100 likes, which would be a ton for the channel. If it gets over 100 likes, then I will do another video on the topic, breaking down how I came up with a podcast to build content around and what it took to get it to where it's making what it's making now. I'd love to do it. So 100 likes, I will absolutely do that. So as you can see here, you have your wallet in Anchor, and it shows total earned all time. And actually, if we do hit that 100 likes, I will go to the dashboard where you can see how many views it took to get there, because that's what a lot of people wonder, is like, how many listens does someone have to get to make this kind of money? Which, when you see in the short time that I've made this money, it's actually really powerful and something you should consider. Like, if you've tried the YouTube thing and haven't had much success, that doesn't mean your message is not good. It just means you might be in a really big sea. And the fact is, there's less people making podcasts. It's still like in the millions, but it's less people compared to how many people are doing YouTube channels. So it's a little less competitive. And if you get in now, it might be a great time to reach your audience in a different way. I can tell you, a lot of people that listen to my podcast do not go on YouTube. So it's a whole separate pond to fish in, and a great way, an easier way to put together content. So what I want to show you is how this kind of added up, how much I'm making per week, and how simple it is. So if you're on this page, you can actually see I have the one sponsorship here. I actually have one monthly supporter. I have one monthly supporter who's paying $4.99. I don't really promote that very often. Maybe I should, but I appreciate the person that's doing that. But what you can do is you can actually go to your Stripe dashboard. So that's how payments are paid out. So that way you can see. So I'm going to click this and really go back to my first payment, give you a little bit of dialogue on that payment, and then where we go from there. So I have 2 pages here, so I can go back to the beginning. The first payment I ever received was 11/11. If you're into numbers and neurology, that's kind of cool. But that was on March 30th, 2020. So that was actually a year ago. Pretty interesting. So, you can see where that was paid out, and then we can see when I've started making my next payouts as time goes. So that was actually almost a year ago. I had this podcast for, not to go into too much detail, but it's older than this. It's a few years older, but I wasn't doing anything on it. It was a YouTube channel, and I was releasing the YouTube videos on Anchor. And apparently a few of them had got listens, and it made $11.11 over a couple of years. I didn't actually start regularly podcasting, and this is where it kind of makes sense to start keeping track. I got laid off from my job, and that's when I started doing podcasts on the regular, and that was the last week of August. So if we look right here, this is when I started podcasting right here in August. So it was mid to late August where I really started getting into it. You can see I started cashing some out. I wasn't doing podcasts every day at this time, It was actually the beginning of September where I decided to do a podcast every day and started doing weekly payouts where I would pay myself every Friday. So you could see how, these get more consistent as they go. But you can see when I started doing podcasts every single day, that was the first week was September 14th is when I got the payout. It was actually September 4th when I decided to start doing them every day. And September 14th was that first Friday that came along. And I made $14.16 for that week. From there, it went up to $13.49, $15.87, and then ending October 5th at $17.97. Not a lot to, be super excited about, but that's still $20 a week almost that, you could use for gas or a little bit of extra money, but, that's just the beginning. From there, if I scroll down October, 17, 15, you can see it kind of goes up and down, 17, 15, and then I had a really slow week in November. If I remember correctly, what happened here was the ad that I was using Anchor, for some reason was discontinued. And all I had to do was reactivate it. So somehow, whether I did it or something, it got deactivated. And it actually didn't run for, I think, 4 or 5 of the days of that week with the podcast. So that's why the money dropped so much there. But then from there, you see we're up to $40 a week, $56 a week, $64 a week. And if we scroll up to December 28th, which was the last payment of last year, I made $65.14. That is less than 2 months ago, which is, pretty crazy. And so then from January, 71, big jump in January 11th, 121, 131, January 25th, 126.06. February 1st was actually the best month. And the reason this one was good is for a brief, like 4 days, I was actually able to have 2 sponsorships on a video. And so it increased my ads. That's all it was. That went away. And then, it dropped back down. A real slow week, February the 22nd. And I'm on track this week to be back in the 130 range. So, a bit of a rebound. One thing I will say is from September all the way through November, I did 1 podcast every single day. In December, I actually did 2 podcasts every single day. It wasn't worth it. What ended up happening is it was just splitting my listenership. So people that listened in the morning and the people that listen at night, I guess people on the car ride in, car ride out to work are different people. And so people that would normally all just listen to 1 were split in half and just listened to the 2. So it didn't do a lot for me. But, it did increase a little bit here. And then in January, I went back to 1 a day. And then in February, actually the second week, so this February 1st payment, this does not include. So this is for February 8th, 16th, and 22nd. I actually dropped the weekend podcast. So that's 2 less podcasts a week, which is 8 over a month, which is 1 less week of episodes. So the fact that I was able to maintain my revenue with 8 less episodes a month has made a pretty big difference. So, like I said, this week I'm already at 97.57. It hasn't updated yet. So when this goes live, this will be 2 days old. So there'll be 2 more days of payment. So there'll be Thursday and Friday on here. And I suspect that each one of those will be around $30, $25 to $30. So it's adding up to, possibly $150 this week. It's certainly not game changing. You can't quit your job off that necessarily, but it's a good way to start making money if that's something you want to do. But more importantly, it's a way to reach people. And if people enjoy this video and want more content and want more ideas and support in building a podcast, let me know. I'm certainly not a expert, but I've researched and looked for a lot of videos, and there's just not that many videos on Anchor on when you get new sponsorships and things like that. So I'd be happy to share the ride with that. So thanks so much for watching. Again, if this hits 100 likes, then I will do another video on it. If it doesn't, then it'll be back to the personal training content, which I've got some really good stuff with that since my last video. I have started doing one-on-one personal training, and I've added a ton of clients. It's been great. Coming out of a pandemic, I can say that's been a bit of a challenge, but I've enjoyed it, and it's really put to test my skills, and I've learned some new things, got some new habits, and so I'm excited to share that stuff too. But thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.